So today, episode 3 of WandaVision debuted on Disney+. So it is time to break down everything that happened in the episode and everything that I spotted while watching it. So let's talk about it. My name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and Marvel way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comments section. Share your spoiler-filled thoughts on episode 3 of WandaVision. No need to put a spoiler warning. I put it in the title of the video. They were warned. If they clicked on it, it's their fault if something got spoiled. But ideally, I'd prefer if you watched the episodes before you watch these so they don't get spoiled for you. If you're new to my spoiler reviews, they're intentionally more laid back and me just kind of sharing all of my thoughts on what happened. And what I try to do is put down below in the description and the pinned comment skip aheads to the specific subjects. If there's a part of it you want to hear my thoughts on, hopefully I've got a little tag so you can skip ahead if you don't want to hear me talk about the full episode. With that said, let's get started with my general impressions on the episode. And as a point of reference, I'm actually recording this 8 days ago in the past. This is Thursday of last week. I don't know if that matters at all, but I am recording this before I've had any discussions with other people about this show, so I could say some really dumb, ignorant stuff in this video.
No way!
That's like a week behind the conversation. So my thoughts on the show in general that I can be more specific about now that you've seen the third episode, I'm interested by the fact that they didn't decide to release all 3 episodes to the public, because this is the one where I feel like you really start to get a better vibe of what's going on. And I can only imagine what it would be like for you guys that watched those first 2 episodes and they're just straight up sitcoms, and only they get literally 2 seconds at the end where they back out and show you someone's watching a monitor. It just doesn't give you much to go on to like interpret this. Whereas this third episode that I got to see when I first watched it at least gives you some context to interpret the world of these sitcoms that we're experiencing as a whole. And I feel like that probably would have worked. But also, I've said in all of my reviews, I think that the nature of this show would make more sense if they dropped the whole season or half the season, because it's just such a big departure that I think there's that hook immediately that makes you, what's next? What's next? What's next? Why is this happening? Where is this going? But if you stretch that out for 2 months while doing a sitcom, I think you're going to lose some people. I'm very curious to see how people respond to a show that's just so different and does nothing to transition to that difference. And the first thing that gives you any real clear indicator what's going on happens at the end of the third episode that comes a week after the show debuts. That is a bold move. They are known for playing it safe. That is a bold debut for Phase 4. And as for this episode as a whole, general thoughts before I kind of go into my walkthrough, I like the way that it feels so much like these shows have passed. A couple of them like squished together a little bit. They are nailing the humor and the vibe of the different eras, the different theme songs, the way the humor's done. I actually pretty excited as I'm thinking like, what's that gonna, like for me personally, I don't watch I Love Lucy, Bewitched, The Brady Bunch, Mary Tyler Moore. And it's been a long time since those have been any kind of part of what I've watched on any regular basis. But when you start getting into the 80s, 90s, the zeros, you'll start getting into shows that I have spent enormous amounts of time watching. So I'm getting excited. Like, what are they going to do? They've said that they're going to do an episode that ties into like The Office a little bit. Clearly there's some Home Improvement. I love all those shows. So I'm fascinated how that'll play out and how I'll respond to all of that. But I'm curious. So from there, let's move on to our walkthrough for this episode. Kicks off straight with the theme song, and it like shot to shot seems to be going right between Mary Tyler Moore show and overt Brady Bunch shots. Everything at the house design, The way text is done with the different boxes and the heads in the boxes feels so much like the Brady Bunch, the backyard. I was like, that's the Brady Bunch. But other shots kind of more in the city felt Mary Tyler Moore type story, type show, type stuff, but just nailed the vibe of all of those things. And it kicks off immediately with a doctor with Wanda who's 4 months pregnant, and they're trying to play coy with the fact that she just became pregnant, and the doctor's like, well, what are you, about 4 months along? Something like that. And just a bunch of kind of fun shenanigans related to that. So then Vision walks the doctor outside, and he's trying to get the doctor to keep it a secret because they don't want anybody to know because it's all so new. And he heads off on his vacation. And then it kind of cuts over to the neighbor who's standing there, and he's like trimming the hedges, but he's like cutting through the fence. And it looks like it's like a concrete fence, and he's just like cutting through it. And Vision's like, hey, I think you hedged a little bit too much there. And the guy's like, hey, thanks, neighbor. And you just kind of get this weird vibe of like, wait, what is going on here? Because it's not even like a sitcom situation. It's just something where a person is doing a rote gesture without thinking through it. Like they're just filling in a spot without caring about what they're doing. It's a little bit unsettling. And I don't know if this reference will mean anything. There's a short that came out like 5 years ago called like Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen. And it starts off like it's a parody of one of these old 80s and 90s sitcoms. Too many cooks. Too many cooks. Too many cooks. And then they keep looping the theme song over and over again. Every time they do, they change a detail about it. And then it morphs in through all these different genres and stuff. It's this wild, crazy, odd thing.
When it comes to the future, you can never have too many cooks.
This episode started to remind me of Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen a little bit, which I don't know if anyone will know what I'm talking about when I reference that. So Vision heads back inside, and immediately Wanda's even bigger and further along. And this kind of leads to this section where they're, trying to get the baby's room together, and they're reading about nesting. And then you have a section where Vision's practicing changing diapers and like putting his hands on, I'm done, and reading all about these pregnancy stages, and they're 6 months along. And as they're kind of going through this, they have this moment where they start musing about how the neighbors might start to notice that they're different, and the creepy music starts to play a little bit, build up a little bit, and then it just like snaps back, almost like there was a glitch while I was streaming it. It just cuts back a little bit, and they continue on with their normal conversation. And when I was first watching, I was like, wait, did I see that wrong? I was like, wait, wife, did that just happen? She's like, yeah, I think it was intentional, but it's like so awkwardly, jarringly cut in a good way. And it was intentional. That it just kind of ties into this, whatever this going on in this world, that strange things just keep occurring that don't make sense, and you don't know what to make of it. So then their conversation continues on, and her water breaks, and symbolically to show this, water starts raining down from the ceilings as all of their pipes burst, and she's about to go into labor, so they need to go and get the doctor. So it cuts to this episode's ad in front of it, and it has this lady that's kind of overworked by everything going on in life, and what it says in the dialogue in it, it says, escape to a world of all your own, and then it has this lady in a bath. Once again, we have the symbol that was in the previous episode's product, the watch that was in there, the little octopus symbol, you can see it in there, and it says, find the goddess within. Pretty sure, once again, this sort of idea of escape to a world of your own creation.
This means something. This is important.
Seems like this ad is discussing what's going on all around, and maybe someone trying to feed into Wanda some sort of idea about discovering the goddess that is inside of her to fool her, whatever it is. Like I said, I haven't read House of M. I don't know where all of this is headed, but they're hinting at all kinds of stuff with what happens. Cut back to the house. Geraldine shows up.
Wanda, what's up?
But Wanda doesn't want her to know that she's pregnant, so she keeps trying to run around the house holding things in front of her, but her powers are kind of out of control because she's having contractions and Braxton Hicks contractions. Whenever this happens, she like accidentally uses her powers and punches her microphone. And so while they're talking, she accidentally creates a stork that's walking around. So she's trying to find scenarios to stop Geraldine from noticing there's a stork walking around. But this only works for so long. The stork walks into the nursery. Geraldine realizes, wait, there's a crib in there. They walk in there and the stork's standing still, so Geraldine doesn't notice the stork. And right as this happens, Wanda goes into full-blown labor, and Geraldine's like, wait, you're pregnant? What on earth is going on? Yeah, it's happening right now. What? And have to deliver the baby. Meanwhile, Vision picks up the doctor who's on his vacation and just rushes him straight back to try and save the day. But before Doctor can get there, she gives birth. Baby number 1 is born. And then Vision rushes in with the doctor, and the baby is named Tommy. And they start having a real nice moment staring at the baby. And then she's like, whoa! And baby number 2 shows up, and they end up having twin baby boys. So the doctor does his exam. All is good. So Vision walks him outside to send him off. And as they're walking out, there's this little odd line of dialogue where the doctor says something about, you want to get on his vacation, it's very hard to escape. He says some line of dialogue like that about escaping. It kind of pauses on it just a little bit. And you see a look on Vision's face about like, wait, escape? Wait, what? What is that? What does he really mean by that? What is he really saying? And then as the doctor leaves, the neighbors start asking, hey, is Geraldine inside? They're like, yeah. And they seem really concerned about her because she doesn't have a family. And then they're like, she doesn't have a home. And you can tell this is building towards something. We're about to have a reveal, and it starts intercutting back and forth between this conversation between Vision and the neighbors, and then Wanda and Geraldine inside. And so Wanda is looking at the 2 babies that are twins. She says, I'm a twin. You know, I had a twin brother, and he died. And she starts singing to the babies. And then Geraldine is looking at it, and she goes, he was killed by Ultron. And we're 3 episodes in, and it's the first time that the show's kind of acknowledged the MCU kind of as a whole. And you're like even as she says it, you're like, whoa, like you feel the weight of her saying he was killed by Ultron. And Wanda's like, what did you say? And she kind of snaps out of the world that they're in. Like, what did you say? What did you say about him?
Who are you? I don't know.
She's like, what? And Geraldine tries to back off. Like, that's not what I really said. It's cutting back out to our neighbors outside. And the husband says, she came here because we're all. And he wants to say the rest of the sentence. She came here because we're all. And Agnes cuts him off like, no, she's not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be talking about this. And it cuts back inside, and Wanda's getting increasingly frustrated with whatever's going on with Geraldine. It cuts back, and around Geraldine's neck is the symbol from episode 1 that was on the toaster, that was on the screen at the end of the episode when it kind of zooms out, and then was on the helicopter in episode 2, and she's wearing a necklace with it around her neck. And Wanda's like, I think you need to leave. I think you need to go. And outside, the neighbor's like, she doesn't belong here. She's not supposed to be here. So Vision heads inside, and she's gone. She's no longer with there. And Wanda just says she needed to leave. Cut to nighttime, real world, full screen. There's a sign that says Westview, and you can kind of see some sort of force field thing over here. And then you just see this body fly out of like a portal and roll on the ground. And then zooms out, and you see all these military people like swarm over her. And it's Geraldine, but Geraldine is on Monica Rambeau. They swarm around her, and the episode ends. So as I've said many times before, I haven't read The House of M. I don't really know where all this is going or how it all ties together, and I don't want to know. I appreciate the mystery of trying to figuring it out as it goes along and letting it unravel. And I find myself in an interesting spot because on the one hand, I just wouldn't by nature watch a sitcom from the 50s, 60s, or 70s in my free time. Even a well-written one starring Wanda and Vision. That's just not what I would normally watch. But they are well done. They are amusing. They are entertaining. And there is this mystery that makes you like, she kind of hooks you. Like, you want to know what's going on. You want these questions that are being raised answered. And so I'm drawn back wanting those answers at the same time. So it is something so very different from the MCU. Even the idea that there is this mystery around it, that's new for the MCU. Normally we have a pretty good idea exactly what our plot is. Here, we don't really know. The genre's different, the mystery to it, the intrigue, all of it is different. And then even from casting information that they've told us that like Kat Dennings going to show up and Randall Park's going to show up. I don't even know how they would tie in. I don't know what any of that means. Who are these people that are stuck in this world? What world are they stuck in? I don't know. I'm interested. So I can't say that I just love it. It's amazing. My mind is blown. I am entertained and I am intrigued and I want to see more. I'm invested enough in the mystery that I'm certainly going to keep coming back. So it's tough for me to know how to evaluate it. As I mentioned before, I've watched through all 3 episodes 2 different times, and I think I liked it a good bit more the second time because I knew what to expect and I was Easter egg hunting. I think they worked better when I was Easter egg hunting and putting the mystery together and noticing, wait, that symbol and that person, oh, they're talking about children all throughout this episode, and then at the end of it, she's pregnant. Oh, okay. And they're keeping things like that in these episodes to where there's a lot of foreshadowing, messaging, and clear themes that you don't pick up when they first are revealed because they make sense both in the sitcom context, but later on when you learn something else, you can reinterpret them in light of everything else. That's cool. That's good writing. I enjoy that about these. And so I'm in a weird spot on this one because it's not by default a thing that I would necessarily think is what I want from the MCU. But I am intrigued by it and want to talk about it. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. You can check out my other WandaVision, Marvel, Disney Plus shows and content right over there. Thank you so much for watching and keep talking Marvel and movies too much.